Welcome to the A Monday Moment with Dr. Mal podcast, where each week I, Dr. Mal, share life lessons and motivation to kickstart your Monday. Whether you're starting your day or winding down, join me or me and my future guest for a burst of positivity and a fresh perspective. Let's make Mondays meaningful together. Greetings and happy Monday, everyone. I'm your host, Dr. Mallory McCoy, and welcome to this week's episode of A Monday Moment with Dr. Mal. As always, may this broadcast bring you what you need in the present moment. May my light exude positivity and kindness, and may my love be extended to all who could use a little extra. Ashe, let's seize the moment. Today's show is titled What a Real Estate Expert Wants You to Know. This is number 2 of 3 different shows amplifying the voices of people in real estate and money. And by now, you know I love me a good definition, and I'm team facts over feelings. So let's get into it. Last episode, I spoke with Tati about her journey in real estate investing, and she chose to take the virtual wholesaling route to get into the real estate business to help people acquire homes, which is not the most traveled route to home ownership because in the wholesaling field, there are many homes that are not move-in ready and require cash to purchase. If you're going the wholesale route, you are most likely not looking for your forever home. But what if you are looking for your forever home? Well, that's where a real estate agent and mortgage lending companies come into play. When my life partner and I purchased homes in the past with other people's money, we first had to consult a realtor to look at houses, and then they redirected us to a mortgage lending company to get pre-approved for a loan. Then we went through the process to get pre-approved for the house loan. And then once we were pre-approved, we went with an agent to look for houses that fit into the space of what we were pre-approved to get from the bank. I think it's safe to say that it's an absolute waste of time, everybody's time, to look at houses without a bank pre-approval. And my guest will speak to that for sure today. And then there's other things that you have to go through when purchasing a home. You have to have a person to inspect the home. You may have to negotiate some repairs, or there's so many things that can pop up in the home buying process. So that's why it's important that you have someone who knows how to navigate this space to help you through it. My guests will also speak to that today. All guest podcasts are titled What They Want You to Know, and my intention is to dive deep into the minds of experts, thought leaders, and fascinating individuals to uncover the one thing they truly want you to know about their area of expertise. I intend to unapologetically and unequivocally center the voices of people from powerful groups targeted by oppression. However, if there are other community members who can interject on any topic that I speak about, they will be invited to the cookout too. As you know, this week's topic is about real estate and mortgage lending. And of course, like every week, this week's guest did not disappoint. Our conversation was equally as incredible. So if you listened to last week and you have a whole page of notes that you need to take, if you're interested in the home buying process, I would suggest that you get a notebook and start taking notes as this episode goes on. Torrey Barnes is my guest today, and he is a real estate expert who serves as a lender and an agent. So you get the whole package in one. Per himself, he loves to educate, motivate, and inspire people through what he says and he does. And he is very, very, very knowledgeable when it comes to buying a home. So without further ado, let's hear what he has to say. Well, I would like to formally welcome you to the podcast.
Okay, nice.
Thank you for joining me, Torrey. And before we get started into the topic of the day, I want you to tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm Torrey Barnes. As you can see or tell by the conversation thus far, I love the Lord. I love God first and foremost. I'm a family man. And I take major pride in being able to help people with anything real estate. So whether it comes to the financing, whether it comes to listing or buying a home or helping with an investment property, I can do all of that, and I'm an expert in that field. And I look at it as almost a ministry. A lot of people have came to me who just had ideas or just thoughts of possibly becoming a homeowner, but nobody in their family may have not have owned homes, and they just never thought it was obtainable. And it brings great joy to me when I can tell them that they're approved.
I love
So that's a
that.
little bit. So that's a little bit about me, my educational background. I have a master's degree in management. I have an MSM from Mid American Nazarene University out in Olathe, and my undergrad came from there as well in management in human relations. And that tells it all right there. I love people. I love being around people. That's pretty much it about me
And
in a nutshell.
yes, and we met
Yeah.
at our children's
Yep.
daycare.
Yeah. At the daycare, dropping off the
And
kids.
I will never forget because you came in like a tornado. It's
Yeah.
this really big energy when you enter a space,
Mhm.
and you were like, "Hi, how are you?" And then threw me
Yep.
your business card. Not
Yep.
not throw it at me, but it was here you go, like, contact me. And you certainly do carry an energy of being willing to help others. And I mean, we haven't been in the same space in years, but I remember that about you. And so,
Yeah. Yep.
uh, and one reason why you are here is that, and I asked you to be on the podcast, is because of your expertise in the multifaceted. Because it's not every day that you meet someone who is privy to the buying and selling of homes, and also serves as a mortgage lending officer. So, can you tell us a little bit about how because you started off in real estate, right? Or not in real
Started off on the lending side. Yep. When you met
Oh,
me, I was just strictly a loan officer. Yep. Just on the
okay.
finance.
So you started off as a loan officer and then
Right.
moved into selling homes. See, I thought it was the other way around.
Yeah, yeah. It was the lending piece first. Yeah. So I've been a loan officer going on my 8th year. That's where I started off at. I started off doing loans and originating loans and doing the finance piece. And about 5.5 years in, I decided to get my real estate license. It was something that I've always wanted, just envisioned myself having. I used to love watching Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous with my dad on Saturday mornings. And I used to love, and I grew up in Leawood, so there was a lot of cool houses out there. And I just always told myself, I'll be selling houses like this one day. So 5 years ago, it was like my busiest year in real estate. I mean, in lending, because that was like when rates had got down to like 3%. I think that was when I helped you and yeah,
Yes.
helped
And
you
Raymond,
invest.
yeah.
Yeah, you were right.
Uh,
With y'all's investment property, and that was when rates were like super low. It was like the lowest they got. It was lowest they ever got in history. I don't know if that'll ever come back again, but that was like 2021, 2022 years, and rates had got all the way down to like 2%
yeah.
at the lowest. Yeah, some cases a little under two, like 1.875 or something crazy like that.
What a dream.
Yeah, it was pretty nuts.
Back in the day when we were
I
young.
know.
We
It
don't
seems
know
so
that.
long ago, doesn't it? But I mean, it was just a few years back. But I mean, just COVID in itself, that whole COVID era with the mask and standing in the line outside the grocery store in line, checking yourself in, that just seemed like that was so long ago.
Yeah.
But
And
that really happened. It's just wild. Just we made it though, right? We made it.
we made it through. And so,
Jeez.
what benefits have you seen by merging both worlds of lending and real estate? Because are you able to actually help your clients buy and sell a home and finance them?
You know what? That's a great question. And I'm gonna answer it. Yeah, the two-piece question. what I've learned, what I've been able to do is pretty much streamline the customer service experience, right? So I look at it as still just, just as a high end customer service experience, buying and selling a home, or getting financing. I just feel like it's just a high end customer service job. So I look at it like I'm still in the customer service field. Okay. And so I look at it like I just want to give the best experience possible, less the least stress, the least confusion, the least aggravation, all that we've all heard those horror stories about. Oh man, my granddad told me, or my aunt or uncle or my friend told me they had the most horrible experience. Their lender was terrible. They didn't get the rate they were promised, and this and that. And we've all heard those horror stories. Buying a house is the most horrible thing you can do, and and it seems like sometimes all that stuff is just to scare us or to discourage us from actually stepping out into our what God really has for us. It seems like, because people love to tell you all the bad experiences, but you really ever hear about the good experiences. So I pretty much tailor made my whole business experience to combat that. I want people to be able to talk about good experiences. So the people that I've had in past experience, and you and Raymond being one of them, you guys had a great experience, and you guys, went out there and told the world that, hey, we had a great experience. We didn't have any issues, and that's what I want people to be able to say. I want people to be able to say, don't believe the hype. Don't believe the stuff that you might be, and God bless those people. Those people probably did have a bad experience, but it really does boil down to who your realtor is and how experienced they are, and how good your lender is and how experienced he or she may be. And that's really what it boils down to. I just feel like I just want to be the most straight up, informative. I like to explain, process through the whole process, keep people informed, let people know what's going on. And I just feel like you'll just have a better experience for yourself as the lender or realtor, or the person who's on the opposite side, who's receiving the service. So I just feel like merging those together, when you've gotten to that level of giving that kind of white glove service, I just feel like when you can merge both of those, like say for instance, like if a client comes to me and they're like, Torrey, I'm looking to buy a house. Okay, cool. I can help you with that. Have you been pre-approved? No, I haven't, man. Hey, I know a guy. He looks just like me. You know what I'm saying? So I get them pre-approved, right? So we work on the pre-approval. So they work on the pre-approval, give me their documents. I'm running all, looking at the credit, making sure the liabilities and everything lines up. Once everything lines up, I'm like, okay, here you go. This is what you can afford to buy. When do you want to start looking at homes? So it's like I just get straight into it. I'm not fumbling around. I'm not handing them off to this other person, or handing them off to this person, or this person's going to call you, or this, it's just a lot. That to me is when the ball can get dropped sometimes. And no offense or nothing against people who have to hand it off. But like, as me and you were talking about earlier, I am kind of a control freak when it comes to like me handling my business and how I take care of people. I don't like a whole lot of hands in the in the pot, and I guess some people have learned how to do it and do it well, but I'd rather just know, like, I don't like a whole lot of hands in the pot, you know, especially if the pot has something good in it. You know what I'm saying? Don't be sticking a whole bunch of spoons, and you know what I'm saying? So I like to make sure that my client knows. The thing is this too, though. When you do merge the two, you really got to know what you're doing, because you can't point the finger at somebody else when it's all you now. Mm-hmm. So that's why I tell people who ask me, especially people in the industry, who respect me, as an expert in the field, and know that I do both. They're just like, man, how do you do that? And I tell people, it's not really how I do it. I waited to do it until I felt like I was an expert on one side first before taking on
Oh,
something else.
to me, that's the most important side. Not to cut you off, but you can't even think about getting a house until
Right.
you look at what monies you're able to get to purchase the home, or if you have your own ducks in a row, your credit score,
That's
your
right.
down payments, all you can't even look towards a house until the
Right.
finance part is there. But realtors
Right.
won't even go out with you and look at houses until you're pre-approved. So
Correct. Correct.
get pre-approved from your realtor and
Right.
they're like, hey, here's the houses that you qualify for. Like,
Exactly.
no
See, and
brainer.
the thing is, what we see a lot is though, and what I've seen a lot myself too is people want to go start looking at houses before they even talk to a lender, and it's like, okay, you don't know what you're approved for. You're setting yourself up for failure and disappointment because now let me put on the realtor hat. Okay, you're coming to me. Hey, Tori, let's go start looking at houses. Okay, great. See, I wouldn't be able to do that because I know how it works. I'm gonna be like, well, what am I gonna show you? I'm just gonna start showing you $500,000 houses. I'm gonna start showing you $1 million houses. I don't know what to show. You know what I'm saying? And the buyer not really being educated on like how the payment works, what they're gonna be able to afford. I mean, I've had people who make $17 an hour want to start looking at $500,000 houses, and it's like that. Hey, man, it's it's that's not that's not gonna get it. That's not gonna get it. But people just don't know. And the thing is, when you go out to Zillow, see, Zillow tricks people. They're getting a little bit better on their website because you can go on Zillow and you'll be looking at like a $425,000 house. And then it'll show like the payment at like $1,800. And you're like, there is no way. But when you look though, that's with someone putting down 20%. It doesn't have the insurance and property taxes most of the time in there, and sometimes it's at like a 15-year rate. And, they have all kinds of weird numbers in there, but that's why people are confused because they'll go to a site like that. They'll be looking at a $500,000 house, and then it says that their payments, $1,800-$1,900. They're like, shoot, I can do that. But that's how they drive their clients' websites like that. Yes. So that's why we got to be careful with Zillow. Because they do stuff like that intentionally to try to get people to click and put their information in. So
it's predatory.
Yeah,
because
but that's why people are confused.
Well, and to be honest, because let me just tell you, this podcast is geared toward the Black and Brown community, so we can talk directly to the Black and Brown community. Mm-hmm. To say that, first of all, we are not financially literate.
Come on.
Generally,
come on.
Our dollar is not on everybody else's level because we don't keep it in our communities.
We don't.
So it doesn't circulate in the same way as someone, and then we don't focus on wealth. We don't talk about the list of things because I feel like there should be some general list of this
Come on
that could happen in home ownership.
Well, and the thing is, and this is the thing, we don't focus on credit, but the wild thing is we spend the most money globally. We are the biggest consumer in the world. Exactly. Black people are. So that's why we're always being marketed to. You look at these commercials. We can be on TBS. We can be on Fox News. The commercials are all Black related now. Cars. You see Black people driving them. The big cars now. We be in BMW commercials. We be in everything. Because they know we got the money. And the thing is, it's sad when I have to turn down. Speaking, we're on Black topic. It's sad when I have to turn down a Black person because a lot of these people that I turn down are making the money and they've been making it and they're paying it. Like I'll see what they're paying for rent. I'm like, man, you spend $2,500? Yeah, I've been paying for the last 4 years. I know they got the buying power, but then you got the credit piece, The credit piece is so important. The first thing, 75% of Black folks that I talk to, the first thing they want to ask me is how low of a score can I have? That's the first question that comes out of their mouth. And it's kind of disheartening because, like you say, that means that there's something going on in our community. There's something in our community to where we're not talking about how to get the score up. we're not talking about the importance of having a score of 700 and above. That makes you a more ideal person to be able to walk into not just buying a home, but a store and be able to use somebody else's money and pay it back. The importance of being able to go and buy a car and you're getting the same car for cheaper, and I always give people an example, when they come to me with that question, how low can you go? It- you know, um, I'm like, you know what? I can go down to 580, but you're going to be jumping through all kinds of hoops. You're going to be spending double and triple of the fees that somebody else will be paying for the exact same house.
Facts.
So it might be how low can you go, but the thing is, most of the people who come to me with the low scores don't have any money. So it's like, okay, you got to give me something. Come to me with the higher score with no money, or come to me with the low score with a bunch of money. It usually, and that's usually the way it works. It's just weird like that. We all know that it even works that way with cars. So I give that example as well. You go into a dealership with a 600 credit score, you're looking at a $20,000 car, your interest rate might be 18%. The same
Oh,
person comes in with the 750 and looks at the same car, their interest rate might be 5 or
mhm.
6%. For the same car, that's a $200 difference in a car payment. Their payment might be 600 now, yours is 350.
And they only look at the payment now. They don't look at how the interest
Correct.
accumulates over time.
Oh my gosh.
Even with our house,
Yes.
it's like I'm going to be paying that much if I continue this payment for 30 years.
That's how it is. Yeah, isn't that crazy?
They tell you, you're buying it at this price point, but if you
This
don't,
is what you gonna pay.
the
If you
interest,
make every single 360 payments,
if you look
you
at the payment, you're paying interest first, then you're paying the payment.
first 12 to 15 years, you're pretty much paying in the interest. I was looking at a guy's payment the other day. It blew my and it still blows my mind. Even though I've seen so many different mortgages, hundreds of mortgages over the last 8 years. But I
Mhm.
was looking at this guy and he's a vet, and his payment is 1450 a month, right? Got him a nice ranch last year. And you look on that mortgage statement, out of $1,400, guess how much was going to the principal?
200, no, 400.
Not even that. You were right. $145 was going towards the actual amount. $145. Now, he also bought his house. His house was also purchased when the rates had got up to like 8%. He
Hmm.
bought at the highest, but he got a good deal on his house. But now we're getting him back down. You know what I'm saying? And that's the whole thing. He's a vet. He's able to do something called a interest rate reduction loan. An EARL is what we say, a VA EARL. You may have heard that before. Raymond's probably heard that. And that will allow a vet to just barely not even send in like 2 or 3 different documents, and then we just lower the interest rate, and there you go.
Oh,
So yeah, he's about to save $150, skip a couple of months, and get a little bit of money back from his old escrow. So he's happy, and I just feel better because I mean, he just happened to buy at a bad time, but the thing is, his payment was still lower than what he was paying for rent. You know what I'm saying? So he was like 8%. It is what it is. That's all relevant to him. At the end of the night, he was still spending more than $1,500.
mm, 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 mm.
But now he's gonna have even a lower payment now. So,
That's why.
but
But it's true. I mean, it's not something that we actually put up front. Like, hey, you're looking at the, do you really know how much you're going to be spending? And
right,
do you know what the interest rate is and how much of that is going to go to the principal? And
correct.
do you know that if you pay twice a month, then you can reduce the
Come
amount
on,
that you pay overall? Like
sure
all
can.
these things, all of these,
Like,
it's like a whole game.
it is. It is, and credit is to me too. It is a whole game. It's tricky, but once you learn it, man, you can pretty much become unstoppable with that stuff. I mean, you can really, like you can credit hack, you can mortgage hack. Once you start figuring out different things, like one of my favorite mortgage hacks is like if a person wants to be an investor, like you could do an FHA loan. right? You could do an FHA loan, and FHA allows you to do 1 through 4 units. So you could buy a 4-unit property with an FHA loan, still only put down 3.5%, and live in one and rent out the other 3.
Right, right.
I mean, there you go.
That's
And people, I mean, there's no excuse for us not to be doing something, I guess. Once we learn I know the information wasn't showed to us in school. I know it wasn't taught to us, a lot of us, by our parents, in our community sometimes. And some of our households, yes, some of them no. It depends on, our backgrounds, but the same thing. But a lot of the stuff, as you know, Dr. Mal, a lot of it was just self-taught to ourselves when we were just put in the right position. Oh, I can buy this house over here. Okay, cool. I got a rental property there. It just happened to luck up that I was blessed with this property or something, and you don't know, and you start figuring things out and asking the right questions. But a lot of this stuff, to a lot of us, is self-taught.
Yeah.
Or we were inspired by somebody and somebody took us under their wing and kind of showed us the ropes. But like, I didn't know I was going to be a loan officer. I just knew that I was always good with money, and I was good with finance, and I always loved math. So I mean, I was a top salesman over at Garmin for all these years. I was in corporate America right before I was doing loans, and it was my actual loan officer himself, who happened to be a Caucasian guy. He was just like, Torrey, man, you have a good personality, man. Loan officers get in your business. He's like, you're making good money, man, but I think you could be making a whole lot more, man. You got a master's degree. This is the guy saying this to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was just being candid with me. I was like, do tell. So he kind of just inspired me. He wasn't able to do anything for me himself, but what he did do for me he made me think outside of just being in corporate America, punching in, just being a number to a big corporation, making a corporation a whole lot of money, and them giving me just fractions of what they was making off me. Relationships are pretty much everything in a person's life, and so to be able to have the best of those things, that I just, like you say, you want to have better thoughts, you want to have better energy. It's important. That's very important.
It's 110% important. And even more important when you're thinking about the home buying process, like, you don't want to stop. You want the home buying process to be as seamless and as easy as possible. And if you have negative thoughts, because really a home buying process, it's all the way from the beginning all the way
Yep.
to the table. Like, it's
Yep.
not over until
Until you sign them documents.
and
Come
then,
on now.
yeah, and then that's when it's done. And so you have to maintain positive energy that whole entire time. And people will see something negative, or quote unquote something that's happening as negative, and then they just tank the whole process because they're like, this happened. Well, obstacles do happen when you're trying to get to this.
Yep.
You are going to be uncomfortable.
That's right.
But you have to persevere through. So
that's right.
Actually, to me, home buying and that process of home buying, that is actually like a life lesson thing.
Come on. It is.
Lessons in the home buying process, but you have to look past all of the surface things and look for the deeper thing, because it's going to take you through some things. And even beyond when after they sign the papers and you give them the keys, even beyond that, homeownership
That's right.
It's a life lesson. There's a lot
It
of
is.
in homeownership.
And you're right about that. The thing is, a lot of my work sometimes starts after I get them closed. That's when they're calling me again, asking me questions about, do I know this person for this? Do I know this person for this? See, and the thing is, you see so many people and so many, and it's sad to say, a lot more, probably more than half of people are transactional. And I don't want to say that in a bad way, but I just feel like I don't want to ever feel like a transactional person. I feel like I want to, I'm going to be relational. I'm going to put relationship before the finances, the financial aspect, me just getting commission. You know what I'm saying? I feel like the relationship will take care of itself. The finance piece will take care of itself if I focus on relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I focus on each and every transaction with the person. It well, not even the transaction, the relationship, period. That's a relationship. All the majority of my clients are Facebook friends now, or friends in real life. We visit each other. They call and check on me. I call and check on them. That's the way I like to interact with my clientele. Some people, it is really just transactional. Not everyone's personality is the same. Some people do want to just be transactional, and that's fine. I know how to adjust and be just transactional if I need to be. But it's all about relationship to me. How a person how a person views me, how I'm, how I view the interaction with another person, how well it went and how smooth it went. That to me is a very important piece.
And that is so important because that conceives repeat clients
There
because
you go.
they're like, hey, I had such a great experience,
Hmm.
a person or human experience.
Right.
This person,
Exactly.
a human
Exactly.
connection, and so I'm going to go back to them and not just be seen as a number on a page.
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
I have a question for you. Actually, I have three more questions. So this I'm talking about first time home buyers. This is where a lot of people get stuck.
Yeah.
You're a first time home buyer, or you're advising a first time home buyer. What's the first thing you're going to tell them to do?
First thing I'm going to tell them to do is go get pre-approved. If they haven't done that,
Yeah, go get
if they
pre-approved.
haven't done that yet, and if you don't know what, at least know have an idea of what your credit score is, because that's what most lenders are going to ask you. Do you have an idea of what your score is? That's usually how it comes. When you're first talking to a person and they're getting you're trying to fill them out and see where they are. Because most people come to me as a first time home buyer, they don't know where to start.
Mm-hmm.
Torrey, what do I do? Where do I start? And another thing is, so have an idea. I tell people Credit Karma is not your real score, but it is good to have. I still tell people that it's free. Yeah, they'll advertise the heck out of you. What doesn't advertise to you, though, that's free? But the thing is, you can at least have an idea of what's on your credit. And that's what I tell people. Don't get confused. It's not your real score. Don't argue with me about it either. And I tell people, but it isn't your real score. So I'm sorry if I let some of you guys down who've heard that for the first time. Credit Karma is not your real score, but it is good to know what's
Yeah.
on there, because that way you can at least keep up with what hit your credit, or you have an idea of an estimate. Okay, so I tell people to start there. Start paying attention, start monitoring your credit, paying attention to what's on there. Another thing is start having your documentation for the loan ready. And what I mean by that is, make sure you have a valid ID. Make sure you know where your social security card is. Make sure that you have your correct logins for your pay to get your pay stubs. Because I know a lot of people don't give paper stubs anymore. That was back, early 2000s, when people were giving real paychecks. You know what I'm saying? So make sure you can log into the portal, at your company or corporation. So make sure you have your login credentials ready, so you can send your loan officer your pay stubs or your because you'll be able to get your W-2s from there as well. So
Mm-hmm.
pay stubs, W-2s, ID, social, and
Bank
then
statements, bank account
yep,
statements.
and then your bank statements. Yep, and then your bank statements. So you're gonna need a couple of bank statements. So make sure, whether it's Chime, whether it's Cash App, you can even get a statement off of Cash App.
Mm-hmm.
So whether it's Bank of America, whoever it is, make sure you'll be able to log in, or you can do it the old-fashioned way: drive to the bank, when their banking hours, and ask them for the last two statements. And that's pretty much all you need to get started. The
Mm-hmm.
bank statements, W-2s, pay stubs, copy of ID, social. That's enough to get you started right there. So
Love
I
it.
tell people, make sure that you at least have that. Or if you're self-employed, you need your tax returns.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if you're
That's
self-employed, tax returns along with the other stuff.
okay. And I know that you told us a lot of things in this whole entire podcast, but what's one thing that if you could highlight out of not even just real estate or being a loan officer, but life in general? What's one thing that Torrey Barnes wants us to know?
Buying a home is a whole lot easier than what you think. And I tell people that, and I know it sounds funny, but I'm being for real. All it really boils down to is paperwork and a credit score.
Hmm.
That's it.
Yeah.
Most of us have jobs because we got to survive, right? You need a 2-year work history, the paperwork that I just mentioned, in a fair credit score, not even a super good credit score, and just a fair credit score. And I mean 620 and up.
Because you can always refinance and get a lower rate if the rate
Right.
is lower, at any point. And when people say anything about interest rates, it's like, well, you pay 100% interest rate when you rent. So
Thank you. 100%. Come on. 1,000. Come
yeah,
on.
1,000%, and you're not
Right.
getting any return on that. You don't have any
None.
equity.
No return at all.
You can't take out a loan. You can't do anything.
Can't do none of that.
Yeah,
You're
and it
so
doesn't
right. You're so
build
right,
your
Dr. Mel.
credit. It doesn't do anything.
Doesn't do a thing.
Yeah.
Doesn't do a thing.
You can't put holes in the wall.
You can't do none of that.
You can't
You
paint
can't.
what you
Yeah.
want to paint. You can't customize your
Right.
home.
And
somebody
it just seems like no matter where you are, they gonna keep that security deposit. They gonna find a reason to keep that last month. Lord have mercy. I don't care how clean you keep. They gonna find a reason to keep that last month. I
Listen,
don't care what rental place you go to.
listen, I'm a landlord myself, as you know.
Yeah.
And like we've kept security deposits because yes,
No, because they will tear your place up.
y'all came here and tore this place up. And the
Tore this
security
place
deposit
up.
should have actually been higher than what it
I'm
was.
trying to tell you, I need another one.
I need to take you to court because this is ridiculous. But I rented for a little bit and I didn't replace 2 blinds.
I'm telling you.
It took like $400.
Yeah, when you could have went up, I'll go buy you some blinds from Wally World.
I'm not that cutthroat because I feel like I've taken the security deposit because you really did, Jackson.
Because you really needed to, right?
Over some blind, like some other people.
That's ridiculous.
Really,
and I've been in that position. That's
yeah.
why I was like, I'm done. I'm done renting from these people, man.
We're not doing
And what really did it for me, I did a rent analysis. That's what it really took for me. I was like early 30s.
Mm-hmm.
I was married, had a child, and we lived in a townhouse. It was a decent townhouse, but it's never like what you would like.
Right.
We didn't have a backyard. It was people flying through the parking lots at all times of day. It was just dangerous, for a little kid. And I said, you know what? I just, somebody told me, it was when I first started looking. And at the time, I didn't have the credit that I wanted to get the interest rate that I wanted. So I felt real discouraged. But one of these loan officers, he was just so encouraging. And he also gave me the resources to help get my score up, to help a person to help me repair my credit. And I haven't looked back since. This was over 10 years ago, probably 12, 13 years ago.
I heard you say he helped you, though. He helped you to build.
He did.
That's beautiful.
And that's, see, a lot of the stuff that I do now, I received myself from people who were in my position before I even thought about being a loan officer. You see what I'm saying? Wow. So it's funny how I used how I was treated to influence how that influenced me so much as to how I, treat my clients now in the same position, because I never knew back then I was going to be a loan officer. I was, focused on being the best sales guy, wherever I was or whatever I was doing at the time. So, but yeah, it's something, man. I don't like just to send people, if I can't help somebody at the time, I'm going to at least give them a blueprint. Now, whether they follow it or not, that's entirely up to them. But I don't just say, oh, I can't help you. Hey, have a good day. God bless you. And just hang up. No, it's like, hey, at this time, I can't help you. But hey, if we were to do this, hey, we might be able to get you ready to purchase in 6 to 12 months or 3 to 6 months, or depending on where they are, we'll talk about that. Here's also some resources, A, B, and C, that I like, that also helped me when I was in that position. So I'm a real transparent guy. I'm not acting like I've always had it together or something like that. But it was a process for me as well. So that's another reason why you say you like to we like to treat people with patience or give grace, because I'm like, shoot, I too 12 years ago was just in the same spot
Mm-hmm.
to where somebody had to tell me no. But if you do this, Mr. Barnes, you'll be ready. And
Wow.
I took that blueprint and used it, and I bought a house the next year. It was just like that. And so
There
I tell
is
you,
now helping others.
that is now helping others now. Isn't that crazy? I
Mhm.
didn't think that at the time when I bought a house, I was going to be doing the same thing. I never would have imagined it.
Wow.
My mind was in a different spot. I was trying to be a regional manager for the place that I was at, but that wasn't God's plan for me. That wasn't God's plan for me. He was like, the plan that I have for you, you might not know yet, but it ain't to be a regional manager. I just knew it had to be being a regional manager where I was.
Mhm.
But that wasn't the plan, and I'm glad that it wasn't the plan. For one, I have more freedom, um, more financial freedom, more time with my family. I'm not having to ask somebody, hey, can I take off to go see my sons play and all this old time? I don't have to do all of that now. So God, when God has something for you, it's better than what you could ever dream or imagine.
Say it for the people in the back.
Come on.
Say
Come on. You
it.
might not know, but if you stay steadfast and just stay on the path, you going to eventually find out what it was.
I,
You're going to eventually find out what it was or what it is
mhm.
or
Yeah.
what it's going to be.
And then the last thing is my prompt. I used to think, but now I know. So what did you used to
Mm.
think, but now you know?
I used to think Hollywood was big, a lot bigger than what it really is.
Mm-hmm.
But now that I'm older and you start seeing Hollywood is just the same old people. It's the same like 20, 25 people. Hollywood's no bigger than like 35, 40 people
Right.
being recycled in front of us. So I don't know. When I was a kid, I know that had nothing to do with anything it was speaking of, but
It.
because I used to like want to be an actor, watching movies when I was a younger guy. And I used to just, you see the glitz and the glam of Hollywood and of actors, your actresses that you really loved and cared about. And, you just think it's so big. You just envision Hollywood being like this big place
Yeah.
in your mind. But then when you get older and you start seeing some of the bad stuff that happens to people and the scandals, and you start seeing like the same people winning the same awards, and it's the same people.
It's the same
You
people.
it's the same people, and it's like it really ain't no bigger than with the directors and everything, probably no more than 100 people.
Mm-hmm.
The writers and stuff. It's just like wow. I don't
And
know. I
they
know that.
are people. I think to jump off of your thought, used to think that they had some sort of God thing, like they were just bigger than me.
Right.
And now I'm like, they're actually people.
They're people.
Human
They're
existence.
they're they're
They're
people. Stuff happens,
in front of the camera.
and right in front of the camera, and that's what makes it even more wild, because it's like, the camera doesn't really turn off after the movie for them.
Mm-mm.
And it's just like, dang, man, as a kid, I used to be like, oh, you want to be like that. But it's like, man, I don't want nobody following me around. I can't go to Walmart
Mm-hmm.
anymore. Like I like
Out of all the places, where
right.
is the
I can't go to Walmart, man. Jeez.
For me,
But
it's Target. For me, it's Target.
see,
I'm like,
yeah,
you can't go to Target? Where-
right. I can't go to right
Yes.
without someone noticing you. So it's just like, yeah, you definitely don't envy that kind of lifestyle, because I wouldn't want nobody follow me around. And you see the some of the artists and or the artists and the actors and everybody getting upset and sometimes getting hostile with the people. And I'm like, I get it now.
Mm-hmm.
Because I wouldn't want nobody shoving the camera up in my face, man, when I'm just trying to walk down the street. That's crazy.
Fame is a double-edged sword, and people want it, but what they really are saying is that they want the money that comes with fame without realizing that that fame is only one way that you can
Come on.
get into the flow of money.
Come on.
Like what we talked about, like people
That's exactly what
it, and then when they get it, they don't really want it.
come on.
They want it to
And
go.
they don't know what those people had to go through to get there. And that's one thing we don't get to see, the behind the scenes piece of the people who we call superstars or, mega stars and all that type stuff. We don't get to see what that person had to go through, what that person had to do. So it's something. But yeah, I don't know how I got into
I
how
love
I even came up with that. But that's just what came to mind.
Yeah, that's good. I know, Tori, you're based here in Kansas City, but
Yeah.
if I'm a listener from anywhere, can you help
Yes.
me buy a house anywhere, or you just can help me if I'm in Kansas City?
Oh, thanks for asking. No, I'm actually licensed in 7 states. So I'm licensed for as far as lending goes. I'm licensed in Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, Missouri, Florida, Texas, and Colorado.
Okay.
So any of those states I can help originate a loan or help you with anything financial. And I'm licensed as a realtor in Kansas and Missouri.
Okay, I love that. So I didn't realize that the scope of lending could go beyond where
Yep.
you
The
could
state.
also be
Yeah.
an agent.
And if somebody was in another state, I could always refer them to somebody else, or I can even obtain that license, depending on how fast you're trying to move.
Because it's important to you to make connections, so you
Correct.
can be like, I'm gonna get a whole license just to help you out.
Yeah,
That's
most definitely.
crazy. I not
Most
crazy,
definitely.
but I love it. I love it.
Yeah, most definitely. I've done that before. A friend of mine he told me like in advance, like, hey, Tori, I plan on moving for my job in a few months, man. Are you licensed there? I was like, no, but I will be.
I love that.
And went and got my license like in a week. It doesn't take long for a lending, to get a lending license. So yeah, it's no problem at all. I'm like, shoot, what state are you living in? Okay, I'll look it up and see how fast they can get it done. Most of the time, it's usually within a couple of weeks. So if
That's
I have a
perfect.
little bit of time, a little bit of leeway, I can obtain one.
And so my people who are watching on YouTube, they'll be able to see the ticker that's scrolling at the bottom. But for my audio
Mhm.
listeners, where can we find you online?
You can find me just Torrey Barnes on Facebook. You can follow me, friend me. Instagram, I'm under mortgage underscore man underscore T, mortgage man T, and I'm on LinkedIn as well.
Perfect, perfect. And you have a website, Barnes Realty Co.
Yep, Barnes Realty Co. Yep, but barnesrealtyco.com.
Yeah.
And you can also just give me a call or text me at 913-424-3176. That's my direct cell.
Okay, I'll just let you know this is a very public podcast. I mean, you can get it on any
Yeah,
you can get it on any website
that's all right.
platform.
That's all
Okay,
right.
good. I just wanted to make sure you knew your number was going to be on every platform. Just making sure. Okay,
Yeah.
well, again, thank you so much for being here, and again, thank you for your gift of expertise. Well, that's all from me this week. Thank you for tuning in for a Monday Moment with Dr. Mal, now proudly a part of the Alive Podcast Network. You can find this show on the Alive Podcast Network website and app, and you can find this podcast streaming across your favorite podcast streaming platforms. If you love to have the visual, you can tune into my YouTube channel, When Mallory Lives, to see the show and catch up on all my shows from the beginning. A special thanks to my guest, Tori, who was willing to share his experience on a public platform such as this. I'm humbled that he chose to spend time with me. And if you're interested in his mortgage lending services or his real estate agent services, you can find him at barnesrealtyco.com, or you can find him on social media as mortgage underscore man underscore T, mortgage man T. So as we continue the month of November, we're still talking about real estate and money, honey. This episode, it's real estate purchases. And then next episode, I'm spending some time with a finance expert. She is 100% knowledgeable about finance. And when I sat through a session that she had talking about money, just felt like therapy. I was really like, am I in a public place in therapy? Like it just was really, so it was good. And I had not in my adult life had a conversation about money like that. So I'm excited for you to hear from her. Her name is Leslie, and the show is titled What a Finance Expert Wants You to Know. You don't want to miss it. Until then, love and peace to all of you. Have the best week.